Okay. Hello everyone. Nandyan ba kayo? Hello. Naririnig nyo naman ako ng maayos? Good afternoon. Okay. Okay, yes. Okay, so maybe we can start, no? If you have any questions at any time, because there is a little bit of a delay in, like, apparently there's like a 30-second delay or so in the live, and by the time it gets to you. So, while we're doing the demo, no, just ask your questions, put it in the chat box, and then I will answer them as soon as I can see your question. So, tapos, I highly encourage you, no, to if you have your materials right now, join me in doing things. It doesn't have to be in a formal paper like this one. No, obviously this one I already placed. I already have the divisions and it's already bordered. It's inked. You know, you don't have to do this now because you just have to practice, no, and see if you can get the same effects that I'm going to do today. So, ayun. So, kung nandyan yung mga gamit nyo, pwede nyo silang kunin. Tapos, samahan nyo ako sa pagpinta ngayong hapon. Okay? Okay. Teka, hindi ko alam kung ano nangyayari. Okay, so, tapos, no, kung meron kayo, after this one, of course, you can do your plate. If you have any other questions, even after this one, we can shift our discussion to our Discord channel. So, dun kayo magtanong din kung meron pa kayong ibang mga agam-agam or kahit na anong mga bagay-bagay, no? So, ayun, so let's start, no? I'll just use some very basic materials and equipment. I believe I already placed the measurements for this one in Big Sky, so you can check that out when you have to do your borders. Tapos, I just use like my regular paints. And then this will work in any kind of watercolor that you have. Doesn't have to be fancy. Kahit yung mga yung very super madali lang kunin, you can easily make these. You can easily do these techniques that we're going to explore right now. And then I'll just get some brushes na na pwede natin gamitin today. Ayun. So, I think I mentioned last time that it's always convenient to have several brushes in your hand so that you will be able to use the appropriate brush for the thing that you like to do. So, kasi pag meron tama yung brush na ginagamit nyo or appropriate siya, mas madali siyang, merong mga effects or mga bagay na mas madaling gawin. So, disclaimer lang, pagdating sa watercolor or any type of coloring medium, wala naman talagang mali o tama na paraan ng paggamit, no? Or meron kasi mga nagsasabi na ay pangit yung hindi, like that's wrong watercolor technique. Well, to a certain extent parang medyo totoo naman yun. Para sa akin kasi parang hindi naman siya ganun ka-importante. Ang batayan ko lang sa kung okay ba yung watercolor technique na ito or hindi ay kung nagagawa mo kung ano yung gusto mong mangyari or gawin doon sa materials mo. Okay? So kung if you have an aim, meron kang gustong gawin, tapos nagawa mo naman siya gamit ng watercolor mo, pero hindi naman natin pinag-aralan sa school or walang gumagawa nun, ikaw lang gumagawa nun, maybe that's the proper way of using the watercolor. Kasi in the end, kung ano yung gusto mong gawin sa materials na yun, pag nagawa mo siya, that's the proper way to use that medium. So don't be so stressed about it. On the other hand, keep on practicing. Kasi meron talagang mga bagay na parang, ano yan, medyo mahirap siya, lalo na kung hindi kayo sanay sa kung ano yung gagawin niyo. Tapos, for the techniques that we're going to do, naghahanap ako ng mga scratch paper. Hindi nyo kailangan gumamit ng super na bago na papel, Kung meron kayong mga scratch na watercolor paper, mga tira-tira, pwede nyo gamitin yon para sa activity natin ngayon. So for example, ilang beses ko na rin itong ginawang, meron akong mga ginawa na ganyan. So pwede nyo gamitin yan. So pwede nyo gamitin. Yung likod, gamitin nyo lang para hindi sayang yung papel. Tapos, kung handa na kayo para yung gagawin nyo talaga yung plate na, gawin nyo na dito sa yung yung maayos at naka-ink na papel. Okay? Ayun. So, again, kung may tanong kayo kung ano yung gamit ko or paano ko siya ginagawa, magtanong lang kayo. Okay? So, let's start. We'll start with this one. Okay. So, we'll start with a little talk on this one. Ano ang ibig sabihin nito? We'll start with watercolor consistencies. Essentially, sinasabi lang na gaano kalapot yung watercolor na gusto nyong, na kailangan nyo para gawin yung isang effect. Usually, I tell students na more or less may mga tatlong klase, or at least sa akin, meron akong ginagamit na tatlong consistencies ng watercolor, yung watery, matubig, tapos yung pangalawa, yung parang gatas ang consistency, so parang medyo matubig pero hindi siya kasing labnaw, mas malapot siya ng konti kaysa sa consistency or lapot ng tubig. Tapos meron ding tinatawag na yung creamy consistency. So yun yung malapot talaga na halos konti lang yung tubig tapos mas marami yung pintura. So meron mga techniques na mas madaling gawin nyo. Mas okay gamitin ang certain types of consistency kesa sa iba. So, ayun. So consistency, ay natin isulat dito like consistency, so yung watery, tapos yung milky, tapos yung creamy, so parang crema. So, paano natin gagawin? So, you have your watercolor palette there. Kung wala kayo niyan, syempre pwede nyo gamitin yung flap o yung takip ng inyong watercolor, and then get a nice sized brush. So, for this one, I'm just going to use this. I think this is a number, wala na kasi yung number, pero feeling ko number 8. Ito, na round brush. Yeah. Ganyan. Okay. So, for the watery, I usually, yung pala, I really recommend that you have two pots of water, isa para banlawan yung brush ninyo at isa para kumuha lang ng tubig. So, try to develop this habit para hindi magputek yung tubig yung kulay ninyo. So, ano yung ibig kong sabihin pag nagpuputik yung kulay? So, napansin nyo minsan meron mga watercolorists na pag nagpinta sila parang ang tingkad-tingkad ng kulay nila. Okay? So kasi malamang marunong sila na gamitin talaga yung tubig nila at meron silang dalawang pots ng tubig para hindi maghalo-halo yung mga pigments ng watercolor ninyo, and that's one way for you to make sure that your colors stay vibrant and clear and bright. Kasi once naghalo-halo na yung kulay, I'm sure you have this experience na pag masyado ng maraming kulay ang naghalo-halo, nagiging putik na yung kulay. So, hindi siya nagiging bright. So, always have that habit. I'm going to rinse my brush using one pot and then just get another pot for getting extra water. So, mapapansin nyo, by the end of this session, ito, magpuputik na yung kulay dito, tapos ito, more or less, malinis pa siya. So, for this one, we'll just get some water, and then we'll put that here. This is how you usually create like a watery consistency. You get that, and you get like the color that we want to use, and then you just mix it. So, diba? Ganito lang, more or less, ganito yung consistency ng pintura. So, malabnaw talaga siya. So, saan ginagamit ito? Okay to para gumawa ng mga pastels. Kasi alam naman natin, if you want a lighter color, pag gumagamit kayo ng watercolor, wala kayong pink, hindi problema yun. You can just get red and then use a lot of water and then you get pink. So, magiging pastel yung color pag marami yung tubig. So, more or less ganyan siya. So, banlawan natin yung brush natin, get more color, and then we'll add more here. So, just para lang meron tayo reference. So, ito yung tinatawag ko na milky consistency. So, para siyang gatas. So, obviously, dahil mas maraming tubig, mas maraming pintura, yung milky na consistency, pag naglatag tayo ng kulay, syempre, mas matingkad, mas darker yung color na makukuha natin. So, yun. So, that is what I refer to as the milky consistency. Na yung creamy naman, malapot na malapot yan. So, linisin natin yung brush, tapos you get some clean water, and then essentially what you do is habang nagtataktak ka ng tubig, minsan ang ginagawa ko is pinahawak-hawakan ko siya, parang tinatansya ko kung masyado bang maraming tubig yung brush or tama lang. So I get a little bit of that, tapos diretso diretso kuha ng pigment, and then essentially yun na yung natin na creamy, so malapot na malapot siya. So syempre pag nagpinta tayo, dark din yung kulay na lumalabas. So ito usually ginagamit natin to para sa mga kung gusto natin magdetalye If we want to do like a dry brush technique, no? If we want to layer one color over another, ito yung ginagamit natin na consistency. So that's those are the 3 consistencies. So, yun, so try getting those, and then tingnan nyo kung ano yung mas swak para sa inyo. And then the more you practice, of course, mas madali nyo ma-figure out sa sarili nyo na parang ito yung kailangan kong consistency para gawin ang isang effect. So ayun. So habang pag naglilinis kayo ng brush, maganda rin kung meron kayong tissue, or mga paper towels like this one para pang pantanggal ng excess na water sa brush ninyo para maglinis. So I usually do this one para maglinis ng brush. Okay. So ayun. Now ngayon, ano nga ba yun? Kung may tanong kayo, just like put it in the chat box para alam ko kung ano yung kung nagigets nyo ba kung ano yung nangyayari. Okay. So for the demo today, I'll just do this. For the next one, okay, so let's go to the next one. So one of the most basic techniques is this, doing a basic flat wash. Maraming iba't ibang paraan para gawin yan. So this is an example of a basic flat wash. Kapag sinabi natin flat wash, consistent yung kulay, halos walang brush strokes kayong nakikita, yun, flat lang siya, tapos yun, isang consistency lang siya. Now there are several ways of doing a flat wash. Minsan meron kayo nakikitang mga bagay na katulad nito, or mga terms na ginagamit ng mga watercolors katulad nito. So wet on dry or wet on wet. So ano yung ibig sabihin nito? For example, wet on dry, yung ibig lang sabihin niyan ay wet brush on dry paper. Tapos wet on wet naman ay wet brush on wet paper. So dito sa wet on dry, habang tuyo yung papel ninyo, pwede nyo patungan ng kulay, tapos yun na yun. So katulad ng ginawa natin dito sa una, hindi ko naman binasa muna yung papel, pinatungan ko lang ng kulay. So that's a wet on dry technique. Pero merong mga times kasi gusto nyo ng wet on wet. Basain nyo muna yung papel, tapos lagyan nyo ng kulay sa taas. So minsan, personally ako, gumagamit ako nito pag halimbawa gusto kong gumawa ng mga backgrounds, mga sky, mga walls, or yung floor. Pag nag-render kayo ng perspective interior, gumagamit ako ng wet on wet. Just be careful on this one. Well, I'll tell you later on kung paano siya gagawin. Let's get a bigger brush. Maybe this one. Okay, so let's start with doing a flat wash on this one, a wet on dry technique. So okay, to wet my brush, get some water. You can do a watery consistency or a milky consistency para gumawa ng flat wash. Okay? So you kind of have to work a little bit quickly here, medyo bilisan nyo yung paglatag nyo ng pintura para hindi siya matuyo. Kasi to get a nice wash, kailangan mas madali siya pala pag basa yung papel. So habang hindi ko babasain yung papel, ilalatag ko lang yung kulay. So habang basa pa siya, bibilisan ko yung spread, pagkalat ng kulay. You get a little bit more if you want a little bit darker. And then just like lay your paint as quickly as you can. Try to get it as even as possible. Don't stress too much. Halimbawa, may nakikita kayo parang, merong naiipon yung pintura on one side, nawawala dito sa isang side. Magle-level off yan, no? Kasi yung tubig, diba, it seeks its own level. Basta hindi kumukulubot yung papel ninyo, madaling mag-flat wash. No? And that's why you have to know how to control your water. Kung nag-iipon siya, try to do big strokes. So from top to bottom, do it like this para mas madaling pantayin ang kulay. Don't do small strokes like this one, yung parang ganito tapos maliit. Sa una pwede, pero pag nililinis mo na siya, para magpantay siya, do the entire stroke. Kung nahihirapan kayo gumawa ng ganito, yung mahabang stroke, no? Syempre pwede nyo namang itagilid yung papel tapos just paint on the shorter side para magpantay yung papel. So kung nakikita nyo dito, pantay na yun, medyo nagpapantay na yung kulay. So, and then you just let it dry. Patuyuin nyo lang siya. Huwag kayo masyadong ma-stress, no? Kasi mas lalo kung yung dinubusisi yan, mas mahirap siya kasi natutuyo siya ng natutuyo. Tapos, pag natuyo na siya, huwag nyo na siyang galawin. Yun na yun. Okay? Kasi pag natuyo na siya, tapos babasain nyo na naman, tapos lalagyan nyo na naman ng pintura, medyo mahirap na siyang pantayin. No? So, make sure that you get the, try to do it in one pass. Yung isang gawa lang. No? Kasi mas madali siyang gawin pag ganon. So that's the wet on dry. Or try to do a wet on wet para makita nyo lang na kung meron bang kayo makikitang pagkakaiba. So I'll get some water, clean water, and then I will, it's like painting with water. So ibabasa ko yung papel, babasain ko yung papel gamit ng malinis na tubig. Wag niyong lagyan ng masyadong maraming tubig kasi pag masyadong maraming tubig, syempre kumukulubot yung papel. Try to keep your paper as even, as flat as possible. And then I'll get a thicker consistency, maybe a milky paint, and then I'll put my paint there. So, basa yung papel. Obviously, nakikita nyo, kumakalat kaagad yung paint. So, okay lang yan. Just keep on going. Get some more. And then try to get everything, every surface that you have to cover. And then level it off. Long strokes, up to down, para wala masyadong brush strokes. And then once that's done, you just leave it to dry. So kahit na merong mga nakikita nyo, parang merong mga naiipon ng mga pintura dyan, pwede nyo siyang pabayaan. Kasi so, hindi naman siya yung sobrang makapal talaga. Magle-level off yun yan. Water has a way to finds a way to level off itself, no? Nagpapantay siya para hindi kayo ma-stress masyado. By the way, no, if you have a hair dryer, pwede kayong gumamit nun para matuyok kaagad yung papel, but don't do that with a dry with a flat wash, no? Just let the water disperse. Ayun. So kung nakikita nyo, ito, yung una natin ginawa, yung wet on dry. So natutuyo na siya. So mga guys, diba? It's pantay na pantay. yung kulay. Tapos dito naman sa wet on wet, habang natutuyo siya, nagle-level off na yung papel. So, flat na flat din yung kulay. So, yun yung gusto nyong mangyari. So, once okay na kayo doon, you can get your paper and then you can start doing the actual thing on the sheet that you're going to submit. So, we'll do the same thing. I'll get a green. Clean water. I'll use the green here para hindi sayang. I'll do the flat wash. So, mas mahaba siya. Be very careful para hindi masyado naglalampas-lampas. By the way, no, okay pala mag-wet on wet. Kung gagawa kayo ng flat wash, tapos, yung mainit yung panahon, yung madaling matuyo yung pintura, mas okay kung mag-wet on wet kayo para mas may panahon kayo na pagpantayin yung kulay kasi hindi natutuyo kaagad yung tubig. So, use a lot of water. Pero ngayon, hindi naman mainit, medyo malamig, yung linsangan. So, you can always, you don't need as much water. So, ikutin nyo yung papel nyo kung kailangan. And then, just paint. Stroke, stroke, stroke. Get more paint if you need it. Big strokes. Sanay kayo na mahaba yung stroke ng brush niyo, yung puro maikse, para mas madaling pagpantayin ang pintura sa flat wash ninyo. We can let that, let's wait for that to dry a little. Kasi yung susunod natin, para hindi maghahalo-halo, nagbi-blend yung isang kulay papunta sa isa. Okay, so habang naghihintay tayo na matuyo ng konti yung flat wash natin, may tanong ba tayo? How is it going so far? Kumusta naman ang takbo ng ating unang live stream? Medyo nako-conscious ako, guys. Hindi ko alam kung tama ba yung ginagawa ko sa inyo o hindi. Yan, lumalabas pa yung ulo ko. Konting feedback naman dyan. Yan yung feedback, sabihan nyo ako pag kasi wala akong sound ngayon, kasi it's okay, it's okay. Ay nako, anong ginagawa natin para sa okay, so para medyo tuyo na ata ito. By the way, kung halimbawa medyo hindi kayo sigurado or parang naninervyos kayo sa ginagawa niyo, you can always use tape. Pwede kayo gumamit ng tape tapos lagyan nyo ng masking, lagyan nyo ng borders yung mga gilid para mas may may leeway kayo na gaganon sa hindi ka masyado ma-conscious sa borders ninyo. Good masking tape is always nice to have. Yun. Personally, I like this like 3M na tartan. Medyo mahal pero madaling tanggalin kasi sa papel. Okay. So, next one. So, kung okay na sa inyo yung flat wash, just wait for, did you use a round brush for that? Okay. Yeah, for this one, for the flat wash, yung pinakamagandang gamitin talaga na brush ay isang flat brush na ganito. Pero masyado kasi itong malaki para dito sa papel, feeling ko. So hindi ko siya ginamit. I used this is called a Filbert brush. It's like a flat brush pero rounded yung top. I hard to use this kasi parang basta nahihirapan akong gamitin siya pero somehow ginamit ko ngayon. So wala lang, medyo weird. Yun, you don't need that. If you don't have that, it's fine. And use just like your regular round brush, like this one. So this is the one that I usually use. And then I actually use also. Okay, ito yung brushes na karaniwang ginagamit ko sa totoo lang. Itong apat. So, isang medyo malaki na medyo nasisira na and then I use a small brush for detailing. And then I have a couple of like, I think it's 6 and an 8 round brush. No? Kasi maliit lang naman yung ginagawa ko. Usually ganito lang yung size. So I don't really need a big brush. So anyway, maybe I can use this one para makita nyo din. Okay, so the next one we'll do for the next one we'll do sorry, hindi yan. Okay, we'll do a graded wash. So what's a graded wash? A graded wash is like this. You have a dark, one color lang, it fades up to white. So dark, and then it fades, little by little, goes up white. Pwede rin baliktad if you want, like, to start here on top, and then it becomes whiter as you go down. Pwede rin. So gradual transition from a dark color to a white. So get a nice dark color for this one para hindi kayo masyadong mahirapan. Don't use a yellow kasi mahirap para hindi kasi ganun ka obvious yung grading. So get a dark color except for black or brown kasi they're kind of dead. So a blue is good, yellow is good, and even a red one. This one. You can do that. So violet pwede rin. Okay. So, ano yung ginagawa ko pag gusto ko mag-graded wash, no? Para saan ba to? Skies, again, backgrounds, shading and shadows. No? Gusto nyo gumawa ng mga sky effects or shading sa mga walls pag gumagawa na kayo ng interior, okay kong gamitin. So, I'll use, para magamit ko na yung pintura ko dito, I have a blue there. So for the graded wash, what I usually do is, just because I find it easy to do it this way, no? Pero kayo, you can try other methods. I usually use a wet on wet technique. Oops, let's make a mistake. So usually nagwe-wet on wet ako. I paint or put water on the paper first, no, para basa yung papel. Try to make it as even as possible. So para makita nyo kung pantay yung paper, you can do it, yung tubig, no, you can angle your paper, no, para makita nyo kung saan yung makintab. Siyempre, pag makintab yung papel, ibig sabihin may tubig doon. So, gagawin natin gano'n. So, mabilis lang talaga para hindi natutuyo yung papel. So, once meron na kayo doon, you can start putting in your paint. A little bit more water kasi natutuyo na siya. Somehow parang mainit ata ngayon. So, habang basa pa siya, you get your color. This one. So we can start from the top, no? Do the top. So what I usually use, like, I drop colors. So parang binabagsak ko lang siya din, tapos naturally bababa yan, no? Kasi nag-spread siya mula sa taas pababa, no? Kung saan may tubig. So I get a little bit more paint. Start from the top where it's supposed to be dark, And then just let it flow. Habang bumababa siya, syempre, kasi kumukonti yung paint mo sa brush, nagiging lighter yung bagsak ng tubig, ng kulay. So, essential talaga na dapat basa yung papel. So, get a little bit more. I'll add more color here on top para maging dark siya. Blue is a nice color kasi it's the darkest hue that you have, aside from black. So, do that. Drop colors there, tapos gradually magiging dark siya papunta sa baba. Then I'll clean my brush. Lilinisin ko siya. Clean water for good measure. And then habang this is what I usually do, is like I hahawakan ko siya ng konti to see like siya ba maraming tubig yung brush o hindi. Tapos kung okay na malinis na brush lang, parang just pull the colors down para magkaroon ng graded wash. Linis, then fade hanggang maging parang puti na lang siya sa baba. And then clean your brush, get clean water, control it by and then just like do your graded wash. Parang medyo fade it up, ganun, pull it up. Start here, pull it down also, kung masyadong madami doon. Minsan medyo tricky ito. Add more color top para mas darker. It's like you're dropping colors and you can pull it down a little. Sira na yung papel. This is how you do a graded wash. So you want to see at least 3 distinct values, or darkness and lightness to your paper. So katulad dito, obviously sa taas, nakikita natin na it's the darkest. It's the darkest tone. So dark na dark sa taas. Tapos sa gitna, you have your medium color tone. And then sa baba, it's almost going to white. Try to make this a little bit more subtle. Nahirapan akong mag-control ng tubig today. Can do something like this for your graded wash. Siyempre, if you can make your work na halos hindi nakikita yung brush strokes, mas maganda yon. Pero kung hindi, a little bit of brush strokes is fine. So usually ginagamit ito for backgrounds. So if you have a technique that you really have to do, no, or you really have to learn, these are the two things that you really have to learn. You have to learn how to do a flat wash, because you'll do a lot of backgrounds, and then you have to learn how to do a graded wash, para again, because it's very useful for making backgrounds, big areas of paint. So that's a graded wash. Okay. So a variation of the graded wash is this one. Yung pinakita ko kanina, we call it a variegated wash. So it's two colors and then they meet with each other, pero dapat yung kulay hindi sila nagpuputik sa isa't isa. So many people do this. So you can get like a you can get two analogous colors para hindi masyadong mahirap. But if you want to get like if you want to use complementary colors, no, like red and green, pwede naman. Just be careful na hindi nagpuputik sa gitna. No? If you're going to use like red and say red and you're going to use two primary colors, red and blue. So obviously dito sa gitna magkakaroon ka ng konting violet, which is fine, no? Basta you have like a dark color, you have two dark colors, no, on opposite sides, and then as it goes up, it changes color and then transitions into the next color. So ito yung ano natin, aim natin. Pwede rin ganito, no? So it's also two medyo analogous colors, no? Violet and purple, and then there's white wherein they mix and then they fade up into the other colors also. So you can do that one. I also did this one for the other class, so you can do that one. So we'll do that here. Maybe we'll just like pick an easy, maybe since nandito na siya, we'll use the green and the blue. Get that one, put more blue here. We want it to be milky consistency. So dito, I also find it easy or convenient to wet the paper. Gusto ko rin na binabasa yung papel pag kailangan kong gumawa ng variegated na wash. So I'll do the same. Use a bigger brush para mas mabilis. Babasain ko muna yan. Again, let the one beside it dry para hindi nag-bleed yung kulay sa tabi dun sa kabilang side. In all of my years of watercolor, one thing that I discovered is you have to be patient with watercolors. Dapat medyo may pasensya ka. Kasi kailangan, meron talaga mga bagay na kailangan mo muna siyang patuyuin bago mo magawa yung gusto mong gawin na susunod. So let it dry. Huwag masyadong magmadali. If you have a hair dryer, you can always use that para mabilis ng konti yung ginagawa niyo. So basa na yung papel. I'll use this one. I'll put a blue here at the bottom. Add more paint. So maglalatag lang ako ng pintura dyan sa baba, and then let it flow. Nandiyaan ko siyang bumaba or umakyat para may natural effect. So nag-bloom siya. And then habang nangyayari yun, I'll clean my brush and then get a green and then do the same thing here on top. Just drop colors there. So obviously dito medyo natuyo na yung papel, so hindi na siya masyado nag-bloom. Pero ayun, pwede pa rin natin gawin yon. So habang pakonti ng pakonti yung brush, ay yung tubig, at saka yung pintura sa brush, naturally nagla-lighten yung color. I think that's enough. I'll rinse this one and get some water and then start blending it into white. And then mix again, get a little clean water, then I'll start blending this also into white. Mix and blend. Habang malinis siya, we can do the center, so blend siya sa isa't isa, and then you can always adjust. So parang kulang ng pintura dito sa baba, so add more blue here, and then try to push it up para mag-blend siya doon. Clean the brush, get some clean water, take out some, and then try to blend it with the color above. So maybe I can use this one and try to blend these two colors para magkaroon tayo ng variegated na wash. Blend the two together, wash it, get clean water, rinse it out a little, and then try to blend them all together. So try to do this while everything is wet. I'll add a little bit more here kasi parang kulang. Needs a little bit darker color para mas maganda yung transitioning. Para mas pronounced ang wash, ang graded wash effect. As you have again 3 distinct colors, no? A dark color, and then it becomes lighter, and then somewhere in the middle it becomes a little bit white, and then transitions into green, and then a dark green on top. So yun yung gusto nating mangyari dito sa variegated wash. No? Then you can pick other colors like this one. No? If you want something on the darks, on the warm side of your color wheel, and other things. Try to get it as even as possible, and then again, like, know when to stop. Kasi just let the water do its work. Kasi magbe-blend siya naturally sa isa't isa. Okay, so that is the third, no, yung variegated na wash. Meron ba tayong okay naman tayo so far? Kasi yung ito dito medyo madali na lang to. I have to say, like, ito yung pinaka, itong tatlo, yung medyo mahirap, or hindi naman mahirap, pero tricky, no? Kung hindi kayo sanay kung paano siya ginagawa, medyo tricky siya. Okay naman tayo. So, okay naman tayo, no? Use a round brush. Okay, so kung okay na tayo, no, kakalimutan ko parato. Okay, so kung okay tayo, no, we can go to the next one, no? The next one we call lifting. Okay lang. So, ayun. So, the next one we'll call is called lifting. No? So, ano yung lifting? No? Ito yung ginagawa ninyo pag halimbawa nagkamali kayo tapos gusto nyong burahin yung kulay. No? So, lifting ang tawag doon. No? Pero pwede tayong gumamit ng lifting para gumawa ng mga effects na iba't ibang effects, no? Sa watercolor. For example, sabi ko kanina, convenient pag meron kang tissue, no? sa tabi mo, no? Kasi you can use this to lift the paint of your paper, no? Para magtanggal ng kulay. So essentially ina-absorb natin siya. Tapos kung ano yung pattern na nagawa ng papel, nag-iiwan siya ng bakas doon sa pintura, no? So it's kind of nice. A lot of people do this. For example, kung halimbawa gusto nila gumawa ng sky effect, no? So parang nagiging ulap-ulap siya. So maganda siyang technique, no? You can use a lot of different things. You can use paper. I see some people use plastic, no? Tapos ginaganon nila. Merong gumagamit ng yung bubble wrap, no? Tapos yung parang sinastamp nila para tanggalin yung pintura. So nagkakaroon siya ng mga bilog-bilog na pattern sa papel, no? So that's kind of interesting. So you can use a lot of different things, so just as long as they absorb the paint on your paper, no? Tapos kung nagkamali kayo, of course you can use also a wet brush, no? Para magtanggal ng pintura mula sa papel ninyo. Pero dahil watercolor siya, hindi talaga siya completely nawawala, no? Hindi completely na-absorb or natatanggal yung kulay kasi nagmantsa na yung papel. So just be careful about that, no? Meron kasi mga kulay na mahirap i-lift, no? Yung completely tanggalin, katulad ng violet at saka blue. Usually kasi mga staining colors yan. So hindi mo talaga siya completely mabubura. Pero mga yellow, ganon, at saka napansin ko orange, hindi siya ganon kadaling tanggalin or burahin. Tapos another tip, pag nagbubura kayo, make sure that you're gentle with your paper, no? Huwag masyadong aggressive sa papel. Kasi pag masyadong matigas yung pagkuskus ninyo, masisira yung papel at yun. So mahirap na siyang pagpantayin, no? So lalo na kung halimbawa nagkamali kayo, gusto niyo gumawa ng flat wash tapos nasira yung papel. It's next to impossible to do a flat wash with ruined paper, no? Nagkakaroon na ng mancha-mancha or mga guhit-guhit. So mas maganda pa na palitan mo na lang yung papel niyo. So just keep that in mind when you're doing something like this. So for this one, it's just very very quick, no? Ito siguro yung pinakamadali nyo pwedeng gawin. Get water, we'll get some color. For this one, I'll use a violet. And then Just paint. I try to do a flat wash here, wet on dry paper. Again, be careful para hindi mag-bleed yung pintura sa kabila dito sa bagong window na ginagawa ninyo. Very quickly lang. Violet. You have to work very quickly here, or pwede rin you use a lot of water, gamit yun na maraming tubig. As long as hindi masira yung papel, hindi siya masyado magkulubot. So, ayun. Use that and get more water, get more paint, add a little bit more, try to get it a little bit darker para mas makita yung lifting. So try to get this as even as possible habang basa pa siya. Kaya importante medyo madaming tubig yung gagamitin ninyo. So kung medyo pantay na siya, okay, immediately get a piece of paper, and then you just like crumple it in any way that you like, and then you lift. So you get patterns like that. It's kind of interesting. Sometimes if you want like an interesting pattern in your background, you can do something like this, and then just like so yun. So medyo interesting yung background. Also, you can use a brush. So, kung meron kayong brush na ganito, any brush will do. Gawin yung tuyo, yung brush, wag basa. Tapos, you can do certain effects, for example. Like, you want to create a pattern parang ganito. You can do that. So, you're lifting some of the paint of your paper. So it's like you're painting, pero instead of adding color, you're taking away color. You can even add a little bit of water and then try lifting. So just be gentle about it. So yun. So that is lifting. So dali-dali. Yan siguro yung pinakamabilis nang magagawa. So that's lifting. Another technique is, okay, so maybe this is the other one that's really simple. It's called dry brushing. So dry brushing, essentially, you use your brush as a like a pen, So ito yung mga there was a time when doing things like mga calligraphy, mga brush calligraphy, that's an example of of dry brushing, So tuyo yung papel, tapos you have a wet brush and then you use it like you're painting something. So para saan yung dry brushing? Usually, this is where you want, this is the technique that you use if you want to add details to your work. Gusto nyo gumawa ng mga maliliit na detalye sa mga trabaho ninyo. I'll show you, I have an example here. Okay. So, for example, this is something that we will do in the future. I forgot which module, but we'll do something like this. So, kung nakikita nyo, I did like a graded wash on the background, and then merong mga parang mapa-mapa na parts. Tapos, so this is done with dry brushing. So, yung mga solid na lines, dry brush technique ang gamit natin dito. So these are examples of how to paint mga marble or stone using watercolor. Ito naman yung ano nga ba to? We did something yeah. So ito gagawin natin later on. This is like watercolor, and then this is markers naman. We'll do that later on. So dry brushing technique, yeah, all of these things, for example, these studies for how to draw or how to paint leaves, mga palm leaves, these are all dry brush technique. So may kinalaman yung may kinalaman yung shape ng brush, kasi depende sa kung ano yung shape ng brush, makakagawa ka ng mga certain shapes, pero lahat ng mga leaves dito, ginawa lang yan using a round brush. So don't stress too much about it. Parang kailangan ko ng bagong brush. Hindi naman, round brush will be fine. So paano natin gagawin yan? Just show some examples for a good brush. So ang ano lang talaga, ang maganda, or I would recommend when you do a dry brush, use the appropriate size for the thing that you want to do. So kung maliit yung mga detalye, then you use a small brush, like this one. Pero yung kanina, yung gumawa ako ng mga dahon-dahon, ito yung ginamit ko. So this is a 6, if I'm not mistaken. Tapos if you want to do really long lines, kung gusto nyo yung mahabang mga linya, then mas madali kung meron kayong rigger na brush katulad nito. Yung sinabi ko na mahaba yung bristle tapos manipis, ito yung karaniwang ginagamit pag gusto mo gumawa ng mga mahahabang mga linya. Pero later pa naman natin gagamitin. So huwag kayo ma-stress dyan, just get like a simple na round brush, and then we'll do amazing stuff with it. So I'll show you something that you can do. So what do you do as samples dito sa ating dry brush technique? So I want you to play around with the width of your brush and see like what you can do. So kung nagsisimula kayo, hindi nyo pa alam kung ano yung gagawin ninyo, you can shift to your scratch paper, and then tignan nyo muna kung ano yung pwede nyong gawin. So maybe we can do here as an exercise, we'll do parang drawing class lang. We'll do straight lines, like we'll start with horizontal lines. So just draw several draw several vertical lines, and then after that, kung medyo nasanay na kayo, you can paint horizontal lines. Try to make it as consistent as possible, yung pare-pareho yung sukat, pare-pareho yung hugis. Tapos you can do diagonal lines. Once nasanay na kayo dyan, you can go the opposite direction, and then diagonal lines. Para masanay kayo. And then pwede rin kayong mag-practice ng arches, semi-circles, and then ginawa ng ganyan. And then opposite side, para alam nyo kung ano yung pwede nyo gawin. Tapos pag okay na sa inyo yan, or medyo okay, wala masyadong challenge yun, what you can do is you can try try to do a line na manipis, tapos tumataba, tapos nagiging manipis ulit. So parang ganito, So start, get more paint para mas kita ninyo. And you can start with thin line, and then it becomes thick, and then it becomes thin again. So parang ganito. So kung nakikita nyo, di ba, para siyang dahon na. So pwede nyo gamitin yan later on pag gumagawa na tayo ng mga halaman. It's masyadong thin, and then press, so it becomes thicker, and then flick. So para na siyang dahon. So later on, pag gumagawa tayo ng dahon, you can just do like a center na gano'n, and then you can start putting. So para na siyang palm tree or palm leaf. So, diba, na ano na, once you get to know your materials, so how your brushes work, and all of that, you can do so many things with them. You don't need a lot of fancy materials, you just need like some basic things, and like learn how to maximize your materials or equipment. So, yun, so you can try doing that. For the activity here, you can do you can do your vertical lines, and then vertical lines, and then I can do several horizontal lines from one end to the other. Try to get them as consistent as possible, same size, same shape, as straight as you can. And then I can do diagonal lines, and then I'll do the opposite here. For the rest, you can probably like play around, but we'll try to do some leaf shapes, more paint. So press and then like flick, press and then like flick, like a leaf shape, press and then So, ito yung mga pwede natin gawin for the dry brush. No? So, marami talaga kayong pwedeng gawin dyan as soon as you get the hang of it. No? And learn how to draw the lines. And pretty much good for that. Okay, so for the last one, we'll do glazing. So glazing, this is the example. Where's that? Okay. So this is an example that we have for glazing. So essentially, you see like there are like two colors there, pero nagpapatong-patong sila sa isa't isa. So that is glazing. Some people call it layering, pero many people call it glazing. Kasi meron kasi nagsasabi, hindi ka pwede magpatong ng dalawang kulay sa watercolor, no? So hindi katulad ng acrylic or paint or oil paints or gouache na pwede kang magpatong-patong ng kulay, which works very differently from how watercolorists do their work, no? Pero actually, pwede kang magpatong ng dalawang kulay sa watercolor, no? Pero hindi siya yung makapal na makapal. It has to be a little on the light side. Glazing works better if you start with a light color and then gradually you build up the tone of the color so that you get a darker color. Tapos so yun, so lumalabas siya, nagiging dark yung color, no? So para saan yung glazing? glazing. Hindi ko man napinalitan. So, glazing. No? Para saan yung glazing? Glazing usually is done ano nga ba to? Glazing is usually done ano to? Ayun. Okay. So glazing is usually done if you want to for example, you want to create shadows. You can use glazing for if you want to create patterns. For example, ito dito, this is a glazing technique, so it looks like it's not very good, pero okay na rin. Ano siya? Parang plaid, no? Yung mga checkered na mga patterns sa tela. That's good for that. No? Tapos, you can also do glazing sa I'll show you an example. Nasaan na yun? I can't find it now. Ito. For example, I have here a sketch for throw pillows. So these are glazing techniques. No? So you see like there is another color there, and then I replace gray on top of the pink. So pero nakikita pa rin yung pink sa ilalim. This is another example of a glazing technique. So a grizzle paint, it's like you use gray and then you put up another color on top of it. That's an example of glazing. So there's a gray color underneath and then nilagyan ko ng blue sa taas. So hindi nabubura yung kulay sa ilalim, nandun pa rin siya, pero pinatungan mo ng isa pang kulay sa taas niya. So that is glazing. So this works very well with mga pastel light colors. It doesn't work well with dark colors. So yun lang yung limitation niya. So this is one of the techniques that I really use often. Aside from dry brushing, glazing, I use it a lot when I want to build color and tone. So it's nice if you practice that one a lot. So paano natin gagawin yan? So sabi natin kanina, you just use a lot of really light colors. And the key thing with glazing is you let the paint dry. Pabayaan nyo siyang matuyo. Kasi kung basa siya, hindi kayo pwede mag-glaze sa taas na. Kakalat lang yung kulay. Like, I have an example here. So kung nakikita nyo, ito. So kung nakikita nyo yung example dito, so this is a nicely glazed color. It's light, it doesn't spread, nagpapatong yung dalawang kulay sa isa't isa. This one is not a very good glazing kasi natakpan siya, tapos nag-bleed yung kulay sa isa't isa. So yan yung ayaw nyong mangyari sa glazing ninyo. So just use light colors para hindi mag-fade or mag-bleed yung isang kulay sa isa't isa. So we will do that here. Maybe we can use like a green and a violet, maybe green and a pink. We can test it out first. So maybe something like this. Hindi ganun ka dark yung color. That will be fine. And then we'll just try to create something. We'll try to create something like this. A checkered pattern. So we'll start with a stripe here. If you want to use masking tape para pantay na pantay yung kulay, you can. So you paint that one. And just let it go, let it dry. And then then we'll paint another stripe in the middle. That one. And then we'll paint another stripe on the right side. Another one here. Yung nag-glaze siya. Okay. So, hintayin nating matuyo yan kasi wala akong hair dryer ngayon. So, habang hinihintay natin na matuyo yan, meron ba tayo? Kumusta naman? How are you guys doing? Okay pa ba tayo dyan? Magparamdam kayo sa chat box. Vibing lang. Chill lang. Pero kung nasa background ka, okay lang. Okay naman. We good. Chill lang, no? Parang walang nagbabantay sa atin. Pwede natin gawin mamaya. So, kung wala kayong wala kayong hair dryer, you can always do yung oh, yun, watching. Okay lang naman, di ba? Parang gusto nyo gawin mamaya, okay lang. Kaya naman tayo, that's one benefit, no, of having distance online classes. Baka mamaya naglalabada kayo dyan. O inaalagaan nyo yung mga bunsong kapatid ninyo. Okay lang, we'll do it later. So, yun. So, kung gusto nyo matuyo siya, no, you can do this. So, pwede nyo rin siyang hipan, pero ingat lang para hindi tumalsik yung laway at masira yung flat wash ninyo. Kakasar yun. Mahirap mag-repair ng flat wash. Tagal matuyo yung gitna. So, parang okay na ata yan. I'll get another color. Maybe I'll use a pink this time. It's a light color. Okay, so maybe that will work. And then start doing the horizontal stripes naman. So, start here on top. So, sana hindi ako mapahiya dito. So yan, so nag-glaze siya. So nakikita nyo yung layer sa ilalim hindi nasisira, nagpapatong lang siya sa taas. So this is an example of glaze, proper glazing. And so you have to control your water very very well. Huwag masyadong basa. Tapos make sure na tuyong-tuyo yung layer sa ilalim. Now we're starting to create something like a checkered pattern. Very subtle though. So yun, gawin natin yan. Start to get that done. Ayun yung pasadahan ulit. Yung sa tanda, gusto nyo na, I want it a little darker. Just very, very lightly, no? Huwag masyadong madiin din yung brush. Kasi baka mamaya matanggal yung kulay sa ilalim. You can do do that, so now you have like a checkered pattern, no? Pero since ako ito, hindi ako nakokontento dyan, I want to add other things. There, I'm going to get like my rigger brush, manipis na mahaba na brush. Tapos I'll get some colors. I'll try to add like thin lines to them. Pero basa pa siya, so patutuyuin ko muna kasi basa. Kasi pag pinintura ko yan, masisira lang siya, mag-fade siya sa isa't isa. Okay? So while natutuyo yan, I'll start preparing for what we have to do here. So we'll try to do something like this. This one did not really turn out as nice as I thought it would be, pero we'll try to do like a simple landscape, no? So graded wash, or a variegated wash, or a flat wash, no? And then we'll do dry brushing for some of the details. I'm sure you've seen a lot of these things on Instagram, no? Hindi kasi ako magaling talaga gumawa ng landscape, so pasensya na. Pero something like that, you get the idea. You can find inspiration on Instagram if you just want something, no, like to do na parang I want like a nice color, no? Pero kung halimbawa you want to challenge yourself, if you want to come up with your own composition, of course you can do something, no? You can just create something on your own, no? So this one I'll try to do just like kung ano yung pumasok sa isip ko. I'll just like do the usual lang, no? mga mountains. Sketch ko lang siya dito. Tapos I'll do several washes, and then try to create a landscape. So here maybe I'll do like a graded wash with 2 colors. Oh yeah, parang Bob Ross. Happy little trees. Anyway, dito sa background I'll probably do like a medyo sunset, siguro orange at saka yellow or maybe even red. Tapos the back mountain, at the farthest, I'll do with a light blue, and then progressively it becomes darker and darker until we get like an almost black here. And then maybe we'll put some trees there, and tingnan natin, maybe we'll put some mist, no, kung kaya, kasi minsan hindi ko rin alam kung ano yung ginagawa ko. Ayun. So, yeah, wait. I think I have to get something. Ayun. Okay, so ito medyo tuyo na yan. I want to make like small lines para magmukha siyang mas parang checkered, no? Galing kayong mga top Catholic school, ito yung baka ganito yung pattern ng mga palda ninyo. Maybe we'll put like a line there, another line. Try to get it as straight as you can. Pero kung hindi talaga kaya, straight as you can. Kung hanggang saan kaya gawin diretso ang linya. Then I'll add there. Mukhang flag or checkered na pattern. And then as a finishing touch, So something like that, no? It doesn't have to be like very professionally done. Just like play around with the glazing. So yung nakakapulin ko talaga. Yung titignan ko talaga dito ay glazing. Okay? So since okay na tayo dyan, we'll start doing our pretend landscape. No? So hopefully it turns out well kasi baka mamaya pahiya ako. Pangit-pangit ng landscape ni sir. Disclaimer, hindi ako magaling gumawa ng landscape. I really suck at making landscapes. Parang halaman na lang yung papapinta niyo sa akin. Mas okay pa. Okay, so we'll start with the background. So I want it, I'm thinking of doing it like siguro orange, tapos it becomes yellow papunta sa baba. So I'll start with an orange. I'll just do a dry wet on dry, no? So wet brush, dry paper. So very gently iwanan ko yan, and then I'll get yellow. I'm gonna paint that directly underneath. Tapos, to get it to blend, I usually just get clean water and then try to blend the two together. Dahil analogous colors naman sila, madali silang i-blend sa isa't isa. So try to get like a variegated wash. And just clean your brush. Pag gusto nyo yellow lang talaga. Like personally kasi I find yellow to be a little bit hard to work with. Parang kasi madali siyang mamantsa. So you have to be very careful. But like how you're going to use yellow. Kasi pag nahaluan siya ng ibang kulay, hindi na siya ganun ka-yellow. Or hindi na siya nagmumukhang yellow. I think you can even get away with putting in some sort of like violet color here, just like a sunset. So maybe we can try doing that here. Kung pumangit, huwag nyo akong sisihin. I'm just experimenting. Ano ba yan? Pangat-pangat ng example ni Sir. So just drop those colors and then let it blend each other. Huwag nyo galawin. Kasi minsan gano'n naman talaga yung ulap, diba? Yung skies. Just let it flow. Sometimes I tell my students that watercoloring is very zen. You have to be calm about it and just like trust the process. So don't be so OC, obsessive compulsive about it. Kasi like watercolor has its own mind. Parang meron siyang sarili niyang pag-iisip kasi kung saan papunta yung tubig, and you can't control water all the time. So you just do whatever you can. So don't obsess about it, and then sometimes kasi parang pagbasa pa siya, parang ang pangit kasi hindi pa tapos. Pero later on pala, pag tuyo na, okay naman pala siya. Maganda naman pala. But the thing that I would recommend to you, kahit na mangyari yun sa inyo, yung parang, hindi ako masa-stress dyan, dapat conscious kayo sa kung anong nangyayari. Para kung halimbawa, meron kayong nakuhang effect, meron kayong nagawang effect, tapos nagustuhan niyo siya, dahil conscious ka sa kung paano mo siya ginagawa, pwede mo siyang ulitin later on, pag halimbawa, gusto kong gawin kung ano yung nangyari, yung effect na nakuha ko dun sa isang plate ko. So at least alam mo kung ano yung nangyayari, di ba? Kasi kung tira lang ng tira tapos hindi mo alam kung ano yung nangyayari, baka hindi mo maulit yung nangyari sa plate mo dati. So always be conscious but don't be obsessive about it. So kalma lang, pero dapat alam mo kung ano yung nangyayari. Mahirap ba yun? Parang malabo ba yun? Sana hindi siya ganun ka parang wonky or ano, malabo. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so for the I'll start painting the mountains. I'll start with a very light. Actually, wanted a little bit of a. I'll start with a light blue. So maybe that one. And so start with a light blue. Then I'll just do. I can do a solid flat wash here. Maybe. Just take the. But if you want it to look like a little bit misty, yung parang merong kamog, parang Baguio or Bengue, you can do a variegated or ano nga ba yun? A graded wash for this one. And so you have the darker colors on top, and then it becomes a little bit. It fades as you move to the next mountain. So parang may white parts, may dark parts. If you want, you can add a little bit more color, or just to add a little bit of definition and like dimension para hindi masyadong flat, para magmukhang parang totoong bundok. Then I'll do a darker color for the next mountain. So darker color. It's too dark. I don't dark yun. Blend that in into white. So dito, dahil mountain siya, obviously mountains are not smooth, so you can get away with brush strokes. Nakikita mo kung saan napupunta yung yung bakas ng brush. Okay lang na mag-iwan ka, kasi gusto natin na parang may texture yung bundok mo. So maybe I'll add a little bit more color here para mas darker lang siya tingnan. And then let it fade. Okay, so that's another one. Now we'll paint another mountain in a darker blue. And so we get this one. Add more blue here, and then I always have scratch paper to test kung yun na ba yung kulay na gusto ko. So if hindi pa talaga, I'll add more, get a little black. Okay, masyado naman dark yun. So get a little bit more blue. So maybe this one, so it's a darker. It's a darker blue. Paint that here, the edges of the mountain, the third mountain. Darker color. And then I'll get lighter, just water lang, and then just let it blend with the white, so it looks like parang foggy mountain. para sa akin, when I do something like this, I don't like to think too much. I don't like to stress about it. Like, painting should be fun. Para na lang kung nagka-cram ka ng plate at kailangan mo na siyang tapusin. Pero if you're painting for pleasure, then it should be pleasurable. So that's 3 layers of mountains. And then for the last one, I'll make it like really, really dark. Almost black. So that's good. Just paint that here. Very, very dark. Maybe a little bit more dark. Have to be solid but dark. Okay, so I think that's enough. We'll just try to add up or like patch up some things dito sa taas. So we'll try to get some definition on some of the things dun sa taas. Parang we can add some texture here. And so this is a lot of dry brushing, no? Just like texture. So I'm just like putting dots or like ano ba tawag dyan? Parang gumagawa lang ako ng gano'n. Parang kuhit lang. Para lang magkaroon ng texture. Para hindi masyadong flat yung itsura. So maybe parts doon. Kuhit. Dito naman. Wala naman talaga dyan. Maybe you can just like take a look na parang kung isipin mo like meron bang shadows to? Saan mapupunta yung shadows? You can invent your own. Wala naman talaga, since this is all just fantasy, you can do that. You're free to do whatever you want. So in the end, you get that effect na parang, oh, it looks like a mountain at a distance. So just do that. Then here I'll do, since hindi pa siya masyado tuyo, some marks there. You can touch up on some parts, like if I want to add a little bit more color here. Minsan hindi kasi I noticed that the camera that I'm using right now is it makes everything very exposed, no? Very bright. So kung nakikita nyo parang wala na naman nangyayari, dahil yun sa camera ko masyadong mataas yung exposure niya. Hindi ko alam kung paano siya i-adjust. So, pagpasensyahan nyo na muna. Pero actually nagdadagdag ako ng kulay dito para magmukha siya mas bundok ang dating. Put another one here. Nababakansi ako dito. Put another mountain. Another peak. Here. I think that's better. Okay. So, let's wait for that to dry a little. So, kumusta naman so far? Okay naman kayo dyan? Like, for the last part, I want to add some trees. So, parang merong mga bundok na parang, may mga puno na parang, nakatusok-tusok na gano'n, na shadow-shadow. So again, this is a very simple, imaginary, parang mountainscape that you can do. You don't need any reference photo, no? Kasi yung yung aim talaga natin dito is like how do you use the techniques, no, that you practice dito sa taas. So, paano ba natin gagamitin yan? Ano yung mga practical na mga applications niya? And one of the easiest ones that you can use or you can do to practice, to apply the techniques that you practiced here above, is to create an imaginary landscape. Parang tagal niyang matuyo. Kasi sa dulo, to create the trees, I will be doing a dry brush technique. So, now, since dry brush siya, katulad ng sabi ko kanina, the paper and the paint has to be dry. So, para magmarka talaga siya. So, kung wala yon, so medyo mahirap. Although, kung halimbawa, medyo na ko lang, kasi nakita ko yung markers ko. Now, since naman siya, shadows siya, you can actually get away with using markers to put your trees. No? Pero since watercolor class to, and then you want to try out the dry brush technique, edi muna tayo. Paint lang muna yung gamitin natin. Mamaya na tayo mixed media. Do we have to apply all the techniques? Hindi naman. You don't have to apply all of the techniques kasi, for example, wala naman tayong ginawang lifting dito. So medyo specific yung Pero if you notice, we're going to do we did a little bit of glazing here with the yung patong-patong ng kulay. We definitely did a graded wash or even a variegated wash, and then we're going to do a dry brush later on. So more or less, we're using like 4 or 5 techniques to do this one. Pero yun lang nga, hindi talaga tayo, ito dapat ganito lang, ito dapat ganito lang. Minsan nagkahalo-halo siya. So more or less 4 or 5 techniques. Okay. Tuyo na ba siya? Medyo tuyo na siya, so maybe we can start with the trees. So simple trees lang. Maybe we can do yung mga pine trees, kasi madali siyang gawin. So usually kasi we just want it to be like a background, foreground pala na tree, kasi nandito siya sa taas and then nandito siya sa harap, and then it's covered in shadows anyway. We'll do just black. Kung ayaw niya ng black, actually para sa akin, I prefer using a more subtle color like a brown, and I mix a little bit of black with that one para hindi masyadong harsh. Kasi kung black lang talaga, parang masyadong matigas tignan. But if you use brown and you mix a little bit of black, you get a more subtle color for your outlines. So parang mas bukay siya tignan. So this one, I'll do that here. So saan ba tayo maglalagay ng puno? Kung hindi kayo sigurado, of course you can use a pencil. Parang saan ba ako maglalagay ng puno? Maybe I'll put one there, put one there, put one there. Hindi man kailangan tagtarin ng puno. Okay, so yun. Tapos kung gaano siya katangkad, gaano siya kababa. Yun. So syempre, kung halimbawa gusto niyo maglagay ng maraming puno, dito sa harap, syempre, dahil mas malapit siya sa inyo, malaki yung puno. Pero pag nandito na tayo sa may likod, no, mas lumiliit yung puno. No? Dito sa pinakatuktok, yung pinakamalayong bundok, dahil malayo na siya, huwag nyo nalagyan ng puno. Kasi halos din nyo na makikita yon, di ba? So, huwag nyo nalagyan. Yung mga malapit lang sa inyo. Okay? So, we'll start doing, putting in trees. Again, you can practice. But I don't want to ruin it. Ang gagawin ko. No? So, you can do something like this, no? Very simple na pine tree. You can just do a stroke like that, and then you can start from the bottom, no? Like do ganon, and then second layer, third layer, fourth layer, and then ganon. So ganyan lang. You can do multiples of that. Gawa kayo marami. So, since dry brush naman siya, you can do simple lang. Pwede siyang magpatong-patong sa isa't isa. Do another one. So, simple lang. Sabi nga ni Bob Ross, like happy little trees. Practice. So you can start from the top actually. I've seen people do things from the top. Ako lang kasi I like doing things like baba muna tapos papunta sa taas. So do another one, do a last one for practice. Move down. So, parang ano lang kayo. You can scrunch up your brush. And then you come up with like outlines of trees in the back. Okay. So we'll start applying that here since nakaposisyon na yung ating mga yung mga puno natin. Just mix somewhat pink para hindi ako maubusan. And then I'll test if that's the color that I want. Okay naman. We start painting in some trees. Yeah, so medyo tuyo na rin. So start here. Again, don't obsess too much about it. Kasi outlines lang naman sila. They have to be super detailed. Here, paint like one in the middle. One here. And paint another one there. Put another one here. Nababakante ako dito. So halos di na nakikita, pero pag malapit mo kasi siya tingnan, parang mas na may nakikita kayo. Put another one there. So this is olive dry brush para hindi mag-contaminate. Hindi kumakalat yung pintura. And after that, we can paint smaller things here at the back. And do a couple, so smaller strokes. If you have a smaller brush, you can use a smaller brush. And again, don't obsess too much about it. Simple. Tweaks lang in the background. Kasi hindi nyo na nakikita yung petals nyo. Nakikita nyo na lang yung shape. So just try to get the shape as convincingly as possible. Parang mukhang totoong korteng halaman naman siya. So yun na lang yung habol natin. We'll put a couple more here. So nagbabarin. So I think that should be, I think that's about done. That should be enough. So, ayun. So, a simple imaginary landscape using pretty much all of the techniques that that you practiced or you will be practicing later on. So try to get that as soon as nice as possible. But again, don't obsess too much about it. Just like go with the flow and create an imaginary landscape. If you want, you can always find an inspiration somewhere else. Look for something online that you would like to imitate, and then use the techniques that you practiced here, so that you will be able to achieve the effect or the look of your inspiration. But if not, you can always use your imagination. A very powerful tool that you have. Use your imagination and come up with an imaginary landscape, simple one, for you to practice the techniques that you will be learning in this module. Okay? So, do we have any questions, or that's it for this module? Meron ba tayong tanong? Hello, nandyan pa ba kayo? may mga tanong ba kayo? Okay, so kung kung wala dito, no, you can always ask your question over at Discord. While you're doing it, tapos halimbawa meron pa kayong parang may naaberya, may nangyari habang ginagawa niyo yung plate niyo, you can always send your question over at Discord, and I'll try my best to answer you in a timely fashion. Yun. So okay lang naman kung wala, no? Baka mamaya lalo na kung pinapanood nyo lang, hindi muna kayo sumasabay ngayon, baka mamaya yung mga questions darating siya pag ginagawa nyo talaga siya. So ayun, no? So again, if you have any questions, forget you can use our Discord channel for your questions. I already posted the requirements over at Big Sky for this plate, together with the measurements and whatnot. I will be posting. Do you want me to post this on Big Sky? Like this sample plate? Gusto nyo ba i-ano ko pa to? I-post ko to? So anyway, that's it for today. Sure sir, sige na nga. Sige, I'll take a photo of this one and then I'll post it over at Big Sky, no? And then since this will be saved, makikita naman to, no? You can always watch this again once the stream is done, I will be annotating it, no? So, lalagyan ko ng mga time markers yung iba't ibang mga techniques para alam nyo na kung saan, saan kayo, parang i-click nyo na lang siya para lumaktaw siya doon sa, doon sa part na gusto nyong panoorin. Okay? Ayun. Tapos, minsan kasi, iniisip ko na parang, kung halimbawa may panahon ako, tapos interesado kayo, maybe we can do like, something out of the, something out of class, like, halimbawa, wala akong ginagawa na Saturday night, tapos, pwede tayo mag-stream, gawa tayo ng something, parang, wala lang, kasi masaya lang. Tignan natin. Okay? So, ayun. Okay, so, I hope you find the live stream useful. If you have any feedback on the live stream, if you think this is okay, then for any comments, sabihan nyo ko, put it in our Discord. Tapos, if this setup is fine with you, maybe we can continue doing this for the next modules, no? Tapos kung halimbawa parang sir, parang hindi ata effective yung live stream, sabihan nyo ako, no, para para ma-adjust natin yung delivery ng modules natin. Okay? Sabihan nyo ako kung effective siya o hindi. Kasi I really need your feedback for the distance learning to be effective. Okay? Ayun. Okay, so I guess that's it, no? Magmerienda na tayo. Again, any questions, put it on Discord, and then yeah, I'll see you next week. Goodbye. Well, parang yun. Thank you. You can log off now. I'll see you, and then I'll just post this on Big Sky for your reference. I'll also put it on Discord. Okay, so ayun. So thank you. I'll see you next week. Goodbye.